Hola chicos! Today we're going to start talking about a different type of command. The past week or so we've been talking about familiar commands, which we have called to commands. This week we're going to start talking about los mandatos formales, or formal commands. Formal commands are used to give orders or advice to people we would normally address with usted or ustedes. Today we are only going to focus on the usted commands. We're going to start with the affirmative commands, and then we'll deal with negatives. So by the end of this video, you will be able to form affirmative and negative usted commands on your own. Let's get started. So like I said, we're starting with los afirmativos. Fortunately, affirmative usted commands are formed very similarly to negative to commands. The first thing we're going to do is put our verb into the yo form, drop the o, then add the opposite usted ending. So if we have an ER or an IR verb, we're going to drop our O and add A. And if it's an AR verb, we'll drop our O and add an E. Just like negative to commands, we have to remember our irregular yo forms and stem changing verbs. We also have to take car sar verbs into consideration. So negative to commands, our car would go to a case, gar to gaze, sar to seis. But with affirmative usted commands, we just change car to ke, gar to ge, sar to se. These are essentially our preterite yo form endings for car gar zar verbs. Preterite yo for car gar zar verbs, except no accent. So let's do some practice. If we have hablar, first thing we want to do is put it to the yo form, then we drop our o, and add the opposite ending, so we get hable. Prender, yo form, drop the o, add the opposite, which is an a, so we would get prenda. Poner, yo form is pongo. This is one of our irregular yo forms. We're going to drop the o and add our opposite ending, so we get ponga. Volver is a stem changer, so we're going to drop our O and add the opposite. Pedir is another stem change, so we get pido, drop the O, add our opposite ending, which is an A. Then we've got three examples of car gar sar verbs. Sacar in the yo form is saco. There's no stem change, but we do have to deal with that car spelling change, so we would get sake. Pagar, again, no stem change here, but we do have to deal with the gar spell change, so we get pague. Almorzar does have a spelling change in it, so we would drop our O, and then we would also apply our car change to get almuerce. And that's it. That's how you form affirmative usted commands. Try these out on your own. We've got one more thing we need to talk about with affirmative to commands, and that would of course be our irregulars. So just like negative to commands, dar, ir, estar, ser, and saber use irregular command forms. This means they're not going to follow our normal put it to the yo form, drop the o, add the opposite. Instead, they're going to use these forms over here. Did you notice that these forms are essentially the negative to form, but without the s at the end? The only difference is there's an accent on day. Think about it. If there's no accent on day, it means of or from. By adding the accent, now it's a command. So it's super important that we have the accent on our day. So dar becomes day, ir goes to vaya, estar, este, ser, sea, saber, sepa. Again, essentially these are the same as our negative to command irregulars without the s. We also have to remember accents on de and este. Now that we've talked about affirmatives, let's talk about the negatives. Brace yourselves. It's going to get very, very tricky. To make an usted command negative, all you have to do is drop a no in front of it. That's it. So, if we have hablar, remember we put it to the yo form, drop the o, and add our opposite. Hables, the affirmative command. No hable is the negative command. That's it. So in order to form affirmative usted commands, first thing we're going to do is take our verb, put it to the yo form, drop the o, add our opposite ending. We also need to keep in mind that there are some irregulars. We have to watch out for verbs that have an irregular yo form and stem changing verbs. We've got to watch out for kargar sar verbs. And we also have to keep an eye out for our 5 irregular commands. To make affirmative usted commands negative, just drop a no before your command. And that's it. Tomorrow we'll do more practice with affirmative and negative usted commands. We'll also start talking about how we deal with pronouns and affirmative and negative usted commands. Adios.